Thanks, Congressman Butterfield. Representative Barbara Lee is with us, also a member of the U.S. House, representing a district in the Bay Area since 1999. She's a member of the Congressional Out of Poverty Caucus.
Oops. Thank you very much and good morning. First of all, let me thank you for being here. Let me thank Dr. Rockamore for all of the work that the Center for Global Policy Solutions really has engaged in, because we all know that it is extremely critical that we bridge not only the wealth divide, the income inequality divide, and the issues around income inequality, but also in terms of racial inequality. And putting all that together to make sure that we understand that there's still a lot of work to do as it relates to closing these gaps in terms of persistent institutional and structural racism, as well as the economic piece in terms of income inequality. That nexus and that discussion is so important. So I just want to thank all of you for getting it, for being here, and for the work that you do each and every day. You know, the report that you put out, and I just want to go right to the Color of Entrepreneurship. It found, and I'm quoting from the report, in a more inclusive society, one where there was truly equal opportunity for all, there would be more minority-owned businesses. Let me tell you, I could not agree more, and we must keep working toward that goal, because we know that minority-owned businesses hire people who are unemployed, hire people who need an opportunity, hire people who need a good paying job. I'm a former business owner myself. I ran a facilities management company, owned one, 350, 400 employees for 11 years. And I can tell you the difficulties I had then in the 80s and in the 90s, just accessing capital, making sure that, you know, my company had access to opportunities with the federal, state governments, and the private sector. It was horrendous. It was very difficult. The barriers, the structural issues that had not been dealt with then still haven't been dealt with. They were there, and it made it, we had to work 10 times harder with little resources, fewer resources than a majority-owned company. And so the report that you all have put forward in terms of specifying the number of small minority women-owned businesses receiving contracts from funds appropriated in legislation, the data we need here in Washington, D.C. to help us make sure that we hold these federal agencies to the fire. I am on the Appropriations Committee, and I want you to know that each and every day when we have what we call markups, I try to get language into these bills to ensure that our federal agencies provide equal opportunity for minority and women-owned contracts. And I'm just going to give you an example, because this is the kind of work that we have to do here on the Hill, which we need you to really push for in terms of making sure that entrepreneurship is real for those who want to go into businesses who are minority or women-owned. The language, for instance, in the Department of Defense's military construction report, I'm sharing this with you so that you can help us lobby to make sure this language stays in. We put in, the committee directs the department to submit a quarterly report to the committee on its efforts to work with small minority and women-owned businesses. The report shall specify the number of minority and women-owned businesses receiving contracts with funds appropriated under this act, and the amount awarded to each small minority woman-owned firm receiving contracts from funds appropriated in this act. This is just appropriations language, but the laws are there to make sure at the federal level that minority-owned businesses and that women-owned businesses have access to set-asides, to 8A contracts, and to all of the types of resources that you need to run a successful business. But what happens is these agencies don't comply with the law. And so we have to make sure that as members of Congress, we make sure they report back to us so we can know what they are or are not doing. Finally, I'll just say a little bit about Chairman Butterfield's effort with regard to us co-chairing together the Tech 2020 initiative with the Congressional Black Caucus. When you look at the numbers in the tech industry as it relates to the inclusion of minorities, African Americans, Asian Pacific Americans, Latinos in the tech industry, it's obscene, it's outrageous. And so we've mounted an effort not only for STEM education, but for cracking those glass ceilings as it relates to some of the non-tech jobs that are already available, and we have qualified individuals to apply for and to work in. But the unconscious bias studies that have been performed through some of these agencies really have revealed quite a bit in terms of the culture of the tech industry. And so many companies want to do better. Many are moving forward, some are not. And so just know that with your businesses and with what you're doing, if you have people or companies that are very interested in the tech sector, now's the time to really push them forward. Reverend Jackson has done a phenomenal job in terms of creating an environment for the release of data as it relates to the tech sector. But I hope that all of you here, as it relates to entrepreneurship, remember that the color of entrepreneurship should be inclusive. It should include us all, and that means all sectors of our country, including the tech sector. And so just thank you again. Thank you to Dr. Rockeymoore for putting this on. And believe you me, what you're doing, you're in the vanguard of the discussion as it relates to race and economics, because they both go together, economic mobility and racial justice. Thank you again.